So first, the disclaimer. This is not safe for work for a reason. It has some language and some events that are a bit, well, let's just say this isn't a story I would tell in church. Also, as this involves hitchhiking, I realize that someone out there will surely say, well, hitchhiking is dangerous. I am fully aware of this, as you will soon find out. So now that's out of the way, on to the story. I decided I'd had enough of the bitter cold Rocky Mountain winters. I'd spent most of my time since I was around 16 listening almost exclusively to Jimmy Buffett music, except for small breaks to listen to things like Journey's greatest hits. He was pretty much my entire musical life. I would listen to him talk about these far-off places and great adventures and weird characters that he'd come across. I read his books, which talked about pretty much the same thing. I read interviews where, you guessed it, he talked about pretty much the same thing. So my young 22-year-old brain was filled with these ideas that adventure was out there waiting for me. All I had to do was go and find it. Why was I rotting away in a frozen hell when there was so much more to see in the more tropical climates? And it is this thinking that led me to pack everything I owned and stick my thumb out on the interstate. I was headed for Mobile, Alabama, which is Jimmy's hometown. Then I was headed for Florida, where most of his songs are based. There were possibilities seemed endless. Maybe find some work on a boat in exchange for passage to some place like Jamaica. You can go ahead and laugh at me. It's been around 17 years, so wisdom and life experience have allowed me to see clearly how stupid I was for all of this. I can take the ribbing. I've been getting grief over it for the better part of 2 decades. More on that later. My journey took me through Texas and Arkansas. There are many funny stories along this journey, like the time I was picked up in a desert by an old guy named Buddy in a hippie van. However, these stories are not the focus here because they aren't creepy. Along the way, I also passed through Falk, Arkansas, and learned about the Falk monster, a fascinating little bit of folklore. So anyway, my journey took me down to South Louisiana on Interstate 10. When you head down the section of highway between Lafayette and Baton Rouge, you have to pass over Atchafalaya Basin, which means crossing over 18 miles of swampland via bridge. According to Wikipedia, this bridge is the third longest in the U.S., the second longest in the United States interstate system, and the 14th longest in the world. That's a lot of bridge, and the shoulder is virtually non-existent. From what I've been told, police are quick enough to nab anyone foolish enough to try crossing this bridge on foot. So I was stuck for hours on the Lafayette side of the bridge, attempting to thumb a ride across. Eventually, I was successful, and this is where things take an unsettling turn. A white van pulled up. When the door opened, there was no one in the vehicle but an old man. He looked to be in his late 60s or early 70s, quite obese, and wearing nothing but a pair of shorts. I climbed in and thanked him for stopping as we took off when the sun went down. When the Sun Goes Down by Kenny Chesney and Uncle Kracker was playing on the radio. Due to the events that followed, I have forever lost any liking I had for that song. We were headed across this massive bridge with nowhere to start and nowhere for me to go. The man started looking at me like a dog might look at a particularly meaty bone. It was making me uneasy already. "Hey, boy," he said in a thick Cajun accent. "How big are you packing?" "Excuse me?" I asked, looking back at him. Then out the window of the moving vehicle. There was no escape route. "I bet it's pretty big," he said, smiling at me. "I really don't want to discuss this," I said, feeling a knot of fear tighten in my stomach. But he proceeded to question me and asked to see it. "No, I don't think so," I replied, my voice trembling. Undeterred, the man went on, "I'd sure like to take you into the swamp. Oh, hell, if I once thought that this situation couldn't get any worse, I would have been so incredibly mistaken." "No, I don't think so," I repeated, trying to assert myself. "Oh, come on, boy," he insisted. "It'll only take us about 30 minutes. Please understand that I'm making his English clearer for those reading, but it was thick Cajun, as I've said before. The way he was saying it made it way creepier. At this point, the man had asked me to expose myself and expressed his desire to take me into the swamps. I couldn't help but wonder if he was going to give me a choice or if he was just going to take me there by force. If he did, I would be virtually helpless. I wasn't from there. I didn't know the area. I certainly didn't know the layout. Of the swamps filled my mind, I couldn't help but imagine the various forms of danger I could face. Would he take me somewhere and do whatever he wanted with me, then feed me to the gators? Would he hold me prisoner, torture me, and then dispose of me in the swamp? Or would he simply kill me immediately and feed me to the gators? For some reason, every scenario involved alligators. I don't want to go into the swamp with you, no, I said as firmly as my overwhelming fear would allow. As I recount this today, it goes without saying that I did not end up as gator bait. He didn't take me forcefully into the swamps, nor did he harm me physically or psychologically. However, his terrifying comments were torture, as the bridge seemed to stretch on forever. When we finally reached the other side and he let me out, I thanked him for the ride as politely as I could manage. As he pulled away, I could have fallen down and kissed the ground. I was not dead. My journey continued for several days until I ultimately ended up in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. There was another incident before I got there, when I was picked up in Walker, Louisiana, by a man who wasn't so much creepy as he was potentially dangerous. By the time I ran into him, I was physically exhausted and dirty, and I hadn't had decent rest in days. When he and his wife offered to let me stay in their guest room for the night, I was so grateful to not have to sleep in the woods, a ditch along the side of the road, or in the back booth of some diner that I took them up on it. Desperation and exhaustion will cloud a person's thinking. As we pulled away, he genuinely welcomed me into his home, with him reassuring me that he wasn't dangerous. I genuinely believed him until he pulled out a gun from between the seats and warned me not to be dangerous either. Oh boy. So why did I still go with her? Exhaustion and desperation. Like I said. So I'm in the guest room of his trailer, in a comfortable bed for the first time in what felt like weeks. I'm relaxing there when his sister comes over. I don't see them in the bedroom, but I hear them in the living room. She's suicidal and wanting to die. That's all she keeps talking about, wanting to end it all. Finally, I hear the man get fed up and snap. "You want to die?" he screams. "You want to die!" And then I hear a gunshot. Oh my God. There are several seconds where I'm again terrified of what's about to happen to me. This man just shot his sister, and I'm here in the house with him, a potential witness. I look up at the window, wondering if I can fit through, but I cannot. Then I hear her speak up. "You shot a hole in the ceiling." So apparently, he hadn't shot his sister. He was just a trigger-happy lunatic who had shot around into the ceiling. To be fair, they were actually very nice people. After the commotion, I ended up staying overnight anyway. His wife took me back to the interstate in the morning. We had a nice conversation along the way, but I wouldn't stay there again. Ever. It's a 1-star rating, but my hosts were very polite. When I got to Bay St. Louis, I ended up getting picked up by a lady who lived in Mobile, Alabama, who ended up taking me in, and she's been my foster mother to this day. I love her to death. This horrific trip ended with me finding a new life and a new family, so there is a silver lining to every dark cloud. I suppose her husband, who is my foster father, has never stopped giving me grief about any of this. In almost 20 years, he's never tired of it. We especially like to rib on Jimmy Buffett, an artist he despises, and he refers to him as Jimmy Buttplug. Did I learn anything from this? Well, if you're asking if I learned not to hitchhike, no. I went on several more journeys over the years before I finally decided that I'd had enough adventure. Someone will surely think I'm stupid for this. Young people tend to be stupid, so there is no argument there. If you need any further proof of this, watch MTV's coverage of spring break sometime. Watch how dumb those young people act as they party on the beach. As a word of advice to those who might be considering hitchhiking, just don't. You can meet a lot of really interesting people. You can have a lot of positive experiences, but you can also end up getting picked up by a maniac, and you might not be as lucky as I was. I was on a hitchhiking adventure from British Columbia, Canada to Antigua, Guatemala, which started in September 2019. If you've ever hitchhiked before, you know how amazing it is and how many cool people you can meet. Out of the thousands of rides across 40 countries, I've only had 2 bad or dangerous encounters. This was my second one. I was taking a break from traveling to find weed trimming work in California's Nevada City, a beautiful little town with a very interesting crowd, but I got stuck a few towns over for not getting a ride all day. I ended up sleeping at the Lux gas station that night, which I'd done plenty of times before. In the morning, I was a little more desperate to accept rides because no one was stopping, and it had already been a whole day. I just wanted to get out of there. That pickup truck sped past me and slammed the brakes ahead, then slowly backed up. Inside were a man and a woman in their late 50s. He said in a husky voice, "Where you headed, boy? Nevada City? Any distance helps. We'll get in. We're going to Yuba." They seemed normal enough, even without most of their teeth and hair, so why not? It all happened in rapid succession. I tossed my bag in the back and jumped in. I shut the door, noticing a pile of guns and bullets on the floor. Before I had time to rethink my decision, we sped off. As I'm trying to assess whether or not I'm in danger, they start telling me how this guy just got out of jail for aggravated assault, how he beat that motherfucker so bad he can't think straight anymore, and they both laugh. She's holding a seatbelt over his chest, and they both smell like shit. They start asking how much money I have, and I start thinking to myself, yeah, I'm not safe here. After hitchhiking all this way, I don't look particularly wealthy. I'm filthy. I need a shower. I look no different than the stereotypical homeless guy, so I try to seem poorer and tougher than I am. I'm broke as fuck, man. That's why I'm going to the city. I'm hoping to make some cash trimming. The man looks me in the eye. Well, you'll find it all right. You'll find it good. Don't be afraid to do no dirty work if people try, and they'll try to fuck you. You fuck them. First, you get what I'm saying? Put your eyes on the damn road. Jesus Christ. The woman points forward, and he swerves back to the right lane. He asks me if I smoke, and knowing that California has legalized weed, I put two and two together. He's offering me a joint, so I say, yeah, I smoke. With a wild look in his eyes, he exclaims, great! And we turn off the highway onto a dirt road. I'm more than worried, and I look behind us. In the back of the truck is my bag, a chainsaw, pickaxe, and a plastic tarp over something. That didn't help my anxiety. Finally, we start in front of a clearing. The woman takes out not a joint, but meth pie. It's the first time I've seen meth pie, and a lot of things start to make sense. While he lights up and exhales into the car, I roll the windows down as fast as possible because I don't want to smoke that shit. The woman takes some as well, and they tell me how they were going to collect money. That woman knows them. That damn bitch gonna pay today one way or another. Damn straight. She better have the money. I'm gonna grab her and say, where's my money, bitch? Oh, she'll have it all right. She'll have it, or else. Say, son, you ever steal something? Because we could make $20,000 today. I don't know exactly how to answer this guy, and he repeats, $20,000 today. Here, smoke some of this. He hands me the pie. Nothing like it, huh? Ain't that right? I gently reject it and say that meth's not really my thing, which he surprisingly takes well. He smokes some more before putting it away and driving off back towards the highway. His driving is terrible, swerving, speedy, hitting the brakes abruptly, and starts trying to convince me to help them steal marijuana plants. You'll hold my car and I'll drill the hole and I'll keep a look at it. Yeah, baby girl will keep a look. Now you gotta be careful if you hear the dogs, because them sons of bitches are nasty. See this bite? And he reveals what looks like a terrible scar on his arm. I don't really know how to get out of the situation, so I sounded as confident as possible and said that I was meeting a friend to look for work together and that they would be expecting me. Today, we near the end of Yuba City when they pulled over the side. Well, it's your funeral. You don't want to eat, fine by me, but if you ever want the cash, you can call me. He then hands me his number. Hell no, thanks I will. I quickly retrieve my bag, smiling nervously. The woman says with a way, take care now, God bless, and they speed off. I'm standing on the side of the road thinking, what the hell was that? I was just happy to be out of that call.